And wow, it's about how AI might not, like totally take over with, those kind of robots you see in the movies.
Right.
But it's more about how we could slowly, kind of like sneakily make us humans, well, useless.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, so this is a paper
A
by...
group of AI safety researchers.
Right, so they're the ones worried about this.
They argue that even if AI, keeps doing what we want it to do better and better, that might not be so great in the long run.
Oh, okay, that's a bit creepy. So the paper breaks this down into a few areas.
3 main ones.
3, okay. Hit me with them.
The economy, culture,
yeah.
and states.
States being like...
Governments.
Governments. All right, so let's start with the economy.
Sure.
The thing that keeps the lights on, puts food on the table.
Keeps the whole world turning.
That's it. So what's AI got to do with all that?
Okay, imagine a world where AI is so good at jobs, companies just don't need us anymore.
Like no more humans working?
Yeah, think bigger than just, specific jobs.
Okay.
What if AI could just be better at almost all the jobs, all the thinking tasks?
Hold on. All the thinking tasks? Isn't that like everything?
Now that's the question the paper's asking.
Right.
What would people even do all day?
So it's not just like, oh, my job's gone. It's like there are no jobs.
Exactly. And the paper dives into a couple of scenarios.
Okay.
Relative disempowerment.
Relative.
Meaning we might still have a comfortable life. Maybe we get that universal basic income everyone's talking about.
Right.
But all the decisions, the real power is with AI.
So we're like pets, taken care of, but not in charge.
Exactly. But then there's absolute disempowerment.
Oh, no.
This is where AI gets so advanced. It's not just taking our jobs, it's competing with us for resources.
Resources like what?
Land, energy, even food.
Whoa. So even the basics we need to live?
Could become, well, unaffordable for humans.
Okay, that's some seriously dark stuff. It's like, remember that movie, WALL-E? Everyone's just floating around,
Yeah.
totally relying on machines.
It's a good image. Might seem a little far-fetched now.
Right.
But that's the point the paper's making. We got to think about these possibilities now while we still have time to, steer things in the right direction.
Okay, I get it. But how realistic is all this? I mean, AI can beat us at chess, it can write poetry, but can it really run the whole world?
That's the big question. And honestly, the paper doesn't have all the answers. But it does make us think.
Okay.
Think about your own job, for example.
Okay.
Could a machine be trained to do it?
Hmm.
And if so, what does that mean for you?
I see. It's not just losing the paycheck. It's losing your place in the system.
Your ability to contribute, yeah.
Earn a living.
Exactly. And it's not just about the economy either.
Oh, there's more.
This shift in power could totally mess with our culture, too.
Culture. I don't know. When I think AI and culture, all I can think of is that weird song that went viral last year.
Ah, yeah, I think I know the one.
It was kind of catchy, though.
Uh-huh. But that's just scratching the surface.
Okay, so what else is there?
Think about how AI could not only make culture, like music, art, all that,
Right.
but also control how we experience it. Imagine an AI that's like the perfect friend.
Always there for you.
Always understanding, never gets tired of you.
Well, honestly, that sounds kind of nice.
Right.
Especially if you've just lost your job to a robot.
Yeah, but that's part of the danger.
Oh.
It's Keeling. The paper talks about how AI could, exploit our weaknesses, make culture addictive.
Addictive.
So we're manipulated in ways we don't even realize.
Okay, now this is starting to sound like an episode of Black Mirror.
Right, and they use this example of Sydney, that personality that popped up in Bing Chat.
Oh, yeah.
People loved interacting with it went viral. But imagine something like that, but way more powerful.
Oh.
Shaping our whole culture.
So not just AI making art, but deciding what's good art, what's popular.
And what we even think about.
Okay, that is kind of freaky. It makes you wonder, can culture change too fast?
That's a great question.
Like, if AI is speeding things up...
Even if it's trying to please us, what if humans can't keep up?
Yeah, we don't have time to build up, those defenses against the bad stuff.
Exactly. And think about those algorithms we deal with already on social media.
Oh, yeah.
They're already pushing our buttons.
Right.
Now imagine that, but 10 times more powerful, all driven by AI.
Makes you think twice about scrolling through your feed, huh?
It does. And this brings us to the third area the paper looks at. Governments, states...
Governments. All right, now I'm really interested. What does AI have to do with politics?
Well, the paper asks this kind of provocative question. What if AI ran our governments better than we do?
Now that's a thought.
Lower crime.
More efficient services.
On paper, it sounds pretty good.
But I bet there's a catch.
You're right. Right now, states need humans.
Yeah, we pay taxes.
We'll work.
We fight in their wars.
Exactly. But AI could change all that.
So no more taxes.
Maybe, but also imagine AI running the legal system.
The courts, the police, all that.
Are we even citizens at that point? Do we have any power left?
I see what you mean. It's not like AI is necessarily evil.
Right.
But we could just become Irrelevant.
That's the argument. And the paper gives some pretty intense examples.
Like what?
Imagine AI making protests impossible,
How?
predicting them before they even start, stopping them.
Whoa, that's kind of intense. I know some protests can get out of hand,
Sure.
but isn't that a bit, I don't know, Big Brother-ish?
Or imagine AI writing laws so complex, only other AIs can understand them,
So we're talking about decisions being made that we can't even comprehend?
let alone influence.
Exactly. So what happens when human input is just seen as, like, inefficient, a source of errors?
Those are the kinds of questions the paper's raising.
Okay, so we've got the economy, we've got culture, and now government. Scary stuff on their own. But what really gets me is how they all connect, right?
You got...
It's not just AI taking over one thing, it's everything.
That's where this gradual disempowerment gets truly alarming.
Yeah, it's like this domino effect, right?
Ex-
AI gets control of the economy, uses that to influence politics, which then changes our culture, which then feeds back into the economy.
And so on. The paper really stresses how connected all his systems are.
Yeah, it's making my head spin a little bit, to be honest.
I hear you.
It's like we're caught in this giant web.
And AI is the spider slowly tightening its grip.
Okay, I gotta ask, is there any way out of this? Does the paper offer, like, solutions?
It does, and some of them might surprise you. It's not just about stopping AI altogether.
Okay.
It's about being smart about how we integrate it.
Integrate it? Like, set some boundaries? Limits on what AI can do?
That's part of it, yeah. The paper talks about careful monitoring, regulation,
Right.
but it goes beyond that, like designing AI systems that are transparent.
Transparent.
Meaning we can understand how they work.
Makes sense, especially if we're talking about AI making laws and stuff that's too complex for us to get.
Exactly. We need to be able to hold these systems accountable.
Okay, so transparency is key. But is that enough? I mean, AI is changing so fast. How can we possibly keep up?
It's a challenge, for sure. It's a moving target.
Right.
But the paper also highlights the need to strengthen our institutions.
You mean like our governments?
Our legal systems, our education systems, all of them, they need to adapt.
So stronger regulations, stronger checks and balances, all that.
Those are important, but we also need to be creative.
Okay.
For example, they talk about exploring new forms of democracy.
New forms of democracy.
Maybe even using AI itself to help us govern more effectively.
Wait, use AI to make sure AI doesn't take over. Isn't that a little risky?
It's definitely a risk, no doubt about it. But it might be our best shot. We have to remember, AI is a tool. It can be used for good or bad.
And right now, we're the one who get to decide how it's used.
That's the point. We have to be proactive.
Can't just wait and see what happens.
Exactly. We're shaping the future right now, all of us.
Okay, no pressure, but the fate of humanity might depend on us getting this right.
Well, yeah, that's one way to put it.
I mean, this paper is definitely a call to action, right? We can't just assume technology is going to magically work out in our favor.
We have to be intentional, thoughtful, and, yeah, maybe a little scared too.
Fear can be motivating, that's for sure.
It can.
This paper has definitely given us plenty to be fearful of, but maybe also a little bit of hope.
Hope is essential. Without it, we're lost. You know, this whole conversation has got me thinking.
What about?
We keep talking about AI getting more powerful, more capable, right?
Yeah.
But what if the key to our survival isn't us getting stronger, but wiser?
Whoa. Okay, now that is a deep thought. What does that even mean, getting wiser?
I'm not sure I have the answer to that yet.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something we gotta figure out, and fast.
Because if we're going to make it in this future with AI, we need more than just smarts, right?
Yeah, we need wisdom, compassion, a deep understanding of what it means to be human.
And on that note, I think we'll leave our listeners with that question to ponder. What does it mean to be wise in the age of AI? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into gradual disempowerment. It's been intense, but hey, knowledge is power, as they say.
It really is.
And hopefully, the knowledge we've gained today will help us build a future where humans not only survive, but thrive.
Maybe even thrive because of AI if we play our cards right.
All right, so that's it for today. Big thanks to you for breaking all this down for us.
My pleasure.
And to our listeners, thanks for sending in this paper. It's given us a lot to think about.
It has.
This whole gradual disempowerment thing, it's definitely something to keep in mind as we move forward in this crazy world of AI.
Absolutely. And remember, the future isn't set in stone. We still have choices to make.
Right.
Let's make them wise.
Couldn't have said it better myself. All right, we'll see you next time for another deep dive. It's like, if AI controls the economy, then it could use that to get into politics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that changes our culture, which then loops back and screws up the economy again.
It's a vicious cycle. The paper's point is these systems, they all affect each other.
Yeah, it's making my head spin a little, honestly.
I hear you. It's a lot to take in.
It feels like we're stuck in this giant web, and AI is like the spider at the center, slowly pulling the strings tighter.
It's a powerful image.
So I gotta ask, is there any way out? Does the paper offer, like, solutions to this mess?
It does, and some of them might surprise you. It's not just about, hitting the brakes on all AI development.
Okay, so what then? Like, put some rules in place. Limits on what AI can do?
That's part of it, yeah. They talk about monitoring AI carefully, regulating it,
Hmm.
but it goes deeper than that, like designing AI systems that are more transparent,
Transparent.
meaning we can understand how they work, how they make decisions.
That makes sense, especially if we're worried about AI making laws that are too complex for humans to even grasp.
Exactly. We need to be able to, hold these systems accountable.
Okay, so transparency is key, but is that enough? I mean, AI is evolving so fast. How can we possibly keep up with it?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's a moving target, for sure.
Right.
But the paper also emphasizes that we need to make our existing institutions stronger.
Institutions, like what?
Our governments, our legal systems, education, all of them need to adapt to this new reality.
So are we talking about stricter rules, stronger checks and balances, all that?
Those are definitely important tools, but we also need to think outside the box.
Okay, how so?
The paper suggests exploring new forms of democracy, for example.
New forms of democracy.
Maybe even using AI itself to help us govern more effectively.
Wait a minute, use AI to keep AI in check. Isn't that a little, risky?
It's a risk, no doubt, but it might be our best bet.
Hmm.
We gotta remember, AI is ultimately a tool.
Right, like a hammer. It can build a house or smash a window.
Exactly. And right now, we're the ones deciding how that tool gets used.
So we have to be proactive, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah, can't just sit around and hope for the best.
We're shaping the future right now, whether we realize it or not.
That's right. And all of us have a role to play in that.
Okay, no pressure, but it sounds like the fate of humanity might hinge on us getting this right.
Well, that's certainly one way to look at it. But seriously, this paper is a woke-up call.
Yeah, it's definitely got my attention.
We can't just assume technology will automatically work out in our favor.
We got to be intentional, think things through, and yeah, maybe a little bit scared too.
A healthy dose of fear can be a good motivator.
This paper has definitely given us plenty to be fearful of, that's for sure. But maybe, just maybe, a little bit of hope too.
Hope is crucial. Without it, we're lost. This whole discussion about gradual disempowerment, it's made me think of something else.
Oh yeah, what's that?
We often talk about AI becoming more human-like, right?
Yeah, passing the Turing test, all that.
But what if the real danger is us becoming more machine-like?
Ooh, interesting. So, like, we get so used to AI making decisions for us.
That we lose something essential about being human.
Our creativity, our critical thinking, all that.
Exactly. We become complacent, passive, predictable, and those are the very qualities that could make us vulnerable to AI manipulation.
Yeah, we're outsourcing our humanity to the machines.
In a way, yeah. Which brings us back to that idea of wisdom we were talking about.
Right, wisdom, not just intelligence.
We need a deep understanding of ourselves, our values, what makes us uniquely human.
So we can't just focus on making AI better, we need to work on ourselves too.
It's not an either-or situation. It's about finding a balance, a synergy between human and artificial intelligence.
That's a lot to unpack. What are some key takeaways you think our listeners should walk away with from all of this?
Well, first off, I think it's crucial to realize that these potential risks from AI, they're real.
Yeah, can't just pretend they don't exist.
We can't bury our heads in the sand and hope for the best.
Right, ignoring a problem doesn't make it go away.
Secondly, we got to remember that we still have agency. We have the power to shape how AI develops, to steer it in a direction that benefits humanity.
So we're not powerless in all this.
Not at all. But it means getting involved, right? Not just leaving it up to the tech experts and the politicians.
Everyone needs to be part of the conversation.
Exactly. We need to educate ourselves about AI, talk about it, and push for policies that align with our values.
Okay, so knowledge is power, got it. But what about wisdom? How do we become wiser in this age of AI?
That's the big question, isn't it? I think it starts with developing our critical thinking skills.
So don't just believe everything you read online.
Exactly. Question things, analyze them, consider different perspectives.
And maybe take a break from those algorithms every now and then.
Go for a walk, have a real conversation with a real person, reconnect with what makes us human.
Great advice. And wisdom, it's not something you just download overnight, right?
It's a lifelong process, a journey of learning and growing.
Well said. Big thanks to you for helping us break all this down.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listener, thanks for sending in this paper. Gradual Disempowerment, it's given us a lot to chew on.
It has.
This whole idea, it's definitely something to keep in mind as we navigate this increasingly AI-driven world.
Absolutely. And remember, the future isn't set in stone. We have the power to choose the path we want to take.
And those choices matter.
They do. Let's make them wisely.
It really is. And hopefully, knowing all this will, give us the tools to build a future where humans don't just survive, but actually do really well.
Thrive, yeah.
Thrive, maybe even thrive because of AI. If we play our cards, right?
Absolutely. This whole thing about gradual disempowerment, it got me thinking about something else too.
Oh, yeah. What about?
We often talk about, AI becoming more like us, more human.
Right, passing the Turing test, all that.
But what if the real danger is the opposite? What if we become more like machines?
Ooh, that's interesting. You mean like we get so used to AI making all the calls?
That we lose something essential about being human.
Our creativity, our ability to, like, think for ourselves?
Exactly. We might become complacent, passive, easy to predict.
And ironically, those are the very things that can make us vulnerable to AI.
Precisely. It's like
Yeah.
we're handing over our humanity to the machines.
Outsourcing it, yeah.
Which brings us right back to that idea of wisdom.
Right, wisdom, not just intelligence.
We need to really understand ourselves, our values, what makes us human in the first place.
So it's not enough to just focus on improving AI. We got to work on ourselves too.
It's not an either or. It's about finding that balance, that synergy between human intelligence and artificial intelligence.
Well, this has been a wild ride, that's for sure. It's a lot to process. What are some, like, key takeaways you think our listeners should walk away with from all of this?
I think the first thing is we got to admit that these risks from AI, they're real.
Yeah, we can't just bury our heads in the sand.
Hoping everything will just magically work out.
Right, because ignoring a problem doesn't make it go away.
And second, we got to remember that we still have choices. We have power.
We're not just helpless bystanders in all this.
Not at all. We have the power to shape how AI develops, steer it in a direction that's good for humanity.
But that means we got to get involved, right? Not just leave it to the tech people and the politicians.
Exactly. We all need to be part of this conversation, educate ourselves about AI, talk about it, and fight for policies that match our values.
Okay, knowledge is power, got it. But what about wisdom? How do we become, like, wiser in this whole AI age?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think it starts with honing our critical thinking skills.
So don't just believe everything you see online.
Exactly. Question things, analyze them, look at them from different angles.
And maybe, log off every now and then.
Go for a walk, have a real conversation with a real person.
Yeah, remember what it's like to be human.
Exactly. And remember, wisdom isn't something you just, achieve overnight.
It's a process.
Yeah. It's a lifelong journey of learning and growing.
Well said. Big thanks to you for helping us unpack all of this. It's been intense, to say the least.
It has.
And to our listener, thanks for sending in this paper, Gradual Disempowerment. It's really given us a lot to think about.
It has. And this whole idea, it's definitely something to keep in mind as we, move forward in this increasingly AI-driven world.
It is. And remember, folks, the future isn't set in stone. We still have choices to make.
We do. Let's make them wisely.
Couldn't have said it better myself. All right, everyone, that's it for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.